Hello and welcome to the Movie Therapy channel. We are Jim and Sam, and this is the show where we like to give you our rating first. Then we like to talk about the things that we did and did not like about the movie we just saw. Today's movie is The Kid Who Would Be King. That's it. The new Joe Cornish movie. It's his second film. His first one was Attack the Block. Did not see it, so I cannot compare it to Attack the Block, but I really do want to see that one. So Sam, you ready to give our rating for The Kid Who Would Be King?
Yeah.
Okay, count down. 3, 2, 1.
Pass
See
it. What?
No, get out of here. You leave right now. Out. I'll do this myself.
Why the pass it?
Like Thanos at the end of Avengers of Age of Ultron. I'll do it myself with the gauntlet.
Okay, don't get weird.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed.
So pass it.
I had so much fun with this movie.
Did you really?
Let's get into it. All right, so as I said, The Kid Who Would Be King. I said it in the intro. This is the second film from Joe Cornish. Did not see Attack the Block. I heard great things about Attack the Block. But let's just talk about the things that we liked about this film. I don't know if there's anything you did like about this film.
It was a fine film. I just didn't think it was like theater.
Here's the thing. It's not going to change the world. It's not inventive. It's the King Arthur story.
It's a cute little modern twist about King Arthur.
Here's the thing that I actually really did like about it. To me, it felt like it harkened back to those 80s films that I grew up loving. Yeah. This was very reminiscent of, say, like Gremlins, Goonies, The Lost Boys. It's essentially a group of kids that are thrusted into an impossible situation dealing with monsters that they essentially have to save their small town from essentially like world domination from these monsters.
Yeah.
It's a similar plot. You've seen it, like I said, in Lost Boys, Gremlins. Goonies isn't exactly world ending. There was another film I was thinking of, Monster Squad. So, like, I'm a big fan of all these kinds of films.
Yes, I know.
And this kind of harkened back to those. So it was just a very fun, whimsical, just good time for me. It's not something, like I said, it's not going to change the way people make movies. I don't think it's going to become an all-time classic, but it is a very fun take on the King Arthur mythology.
I thought it was fine. It was fun. The kids were goofy and silly, and they had their humor. I don't know. I just thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fine film. I wouldn't encourage people to go see it. I wouldn't really say go see it. You have to go see it this weekend, but I would be like, it's cute. Watch it when it comes out on DVD.
Because I like those old films. So I think if you like those old films that I'm talking about, if you're one of those people that grew up on those kinds of things, it also reminded me, like more modernly, of Goosebumps, the first Goosebumps. I did get some Goosebumps vibes from this because that was also another one of those films where it's like a group of kids that are thrust into an impossible situation where they need to save their small town from essentially world domination from these creatures.
No, well, I guess when you put it that way, my interest of it is even lower.
Well, I give the first Goosebumps movie a see it.
I love the first Goosebumps, but the thing is I don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
In a different version.
No, I'm with you.
I mean, I'm just saying this is for me. This is for me.
So beyond what how this film was reminiscent of other films, other things that I did like, I really liked the casting in this film. The kids were fantastic. This is, I think, a good example of how to cast a younger cast right. Whereas you get some movies, like there was a movie that came out last year that didn't do some good casting with its children actors, and it was kind of ruined the film. But this one, I felt like got it right. I think this is an exercise in how to really get a younger cast to a T. They're fun, they're whimsical, they let them embody the characters. They didn't try to make them to do things that felt like they were out of the realm of their acting ability because they're young, so sometimes younger kids can have a hard time.
I thought the kids were great. It wasn't about the kids. It wasn't about anything about that movie except for the fact that I just wasn't interested.
Okay.
I thought it was fine. I watched the entire thing. I thought it was a fun movie to go see, but when I left, like, that was it. It didn't get me thinking. It didn't get me excited to talk about it or anything. I just thought it was a fine film.
The two main actors, the two best friends, reminded me of Peter Parker and his friend Ned in Spider-Man Homecoming, where they have like a fun, playful banter back and forth. I actually really did like the two sort of bully characters that were essentially the Knights of the Round Table. They were their enemies that became their allies. I like that relationship with those characters. Merlin was also a standout for me. I really did like Merlin.
Merlin was the best.
Merlin was pretty great. That could have been
was hilarious.
So cartoonishly bad, but Joe Cornish leaned into it with such confidence, and the way he casted the kid, that kid just embodied, like, it was essentially just someone taken out of the times of Arthur and just like placed here, and he didn't understand like why they didn't understand what he was saying. It was just a lot of funny moments with Merlin. I love the hand clapping thing that he did to
That was hilarious.
hypnotize people.
Like all that. It was fun.
That was really good.
Merlin was my favorite part. Every time he was on the screen, he was a lot of fun. I wish he was in it more. It would have been cool to have him as part of the group of kids a little bit more.
So the overarching plot, I guess, is that this kid finds the stone in a construction, or the sword in the stone in a construction yard. He pulls the sword from it, and then when he pulls the sword from it, this king, the original King Arthur's half sister, wakes up, and she goes, "Oh, the sword's awakened. I need to now go find the sword." And her quest is to go find the sword to then become the most powerful being in the world. Throughout the course of the film, she's waking up. She's becoming more powerful. She actually doesn't emerge until the end of the film. One of the coolest things about this film was the opening animation. There's an opening animation to this that was
It was really cool.
awesome.
I thought the animation would have been.
I was watching them
cool
like they
for
made a
them.
whole movie like this. A whole movie of animation like this would have been awesome. I thought the animation was spectacular. It's very reminiscent of the way they opened up Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, sorry. Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring, where
It's been a long time since I've seen those.
the Fellowship of the Ring opens up with, it pretty much explains the One Ring, the 12, and I believe it's 12 men. I could get that wrong. It's been a while since I have seen Fellowship of the Ring, but it opens up explaining the history of the One Ring. Then you get the war with the humans against Sauron. And it's essentially what this is, this opening animation. It's explaining the history of Excalibur, King Arthur, the war with King Arthur and his half-sister. And then we get to the kid. We're introduced to the new Arthur. And Joe Cornish has a lot of fun with the sort of the mythology and introducing it into a modern era. It's like the kid who's Lancelot, his name's Lance. There's Kay. I can't remember I think he was calling his friend's name Butters. I think that was his name. And so the film is about these kids that go on their quest to learn how to fight and battle against Morgana, who's the half-sister of the original King Arthur, to slay her. They want to find her lair so they can find her before she wakes up. And that's essentially the journey of the film. Now, with that said, I think we can get into the things that we disliked. And I think to your point where you said like it's a fine film, I'd say the biggest thing for me it's not that I disliked anything about this film, but the film to me didn't have any standout scenes. So I say like my biggest complaint would be the fact that usually we like to do like what was our favorite scene. I don't know if I have a favorite scene from this movie.
Nothing like really stood out. Nothing was really. It was just kind of. It was a nice pace film, and it had everything that it needed to tell the story. But like you said, there wasn't really anything that like captured all of my attention where I just wanted to sit there and watch the entire team. And I had a really good time with it. That didn't really happen with me at all during the film. It was just kind of consistent, and by the end, it told the story that it needed to tell. So I agree with that. There wasn't anything that like stood out.
Yep, and I would say the consistency. It doesn't get too high, it doesn't get too low. It just kind of stays a steady pace. And that'd probably be my biggest complaint, is that I never got that moment where it's like it crescendoed.
Yeah.
And you got like the goosebumps moment. I feel like there's a few times in the film where you're supposed to get the goosebumps moment.
And it just didn't happen.
I still really liked it. But yeah, I think for this to be sort of to have been a more iconic or maybe a cult classic, you would need some of those moments where you get like the goosebumps. You know, you can look at films like Goonies, The Lost Boys, Gremlins. Those films have those moments. Those have things that when people talk about Gremlins, they'll talk about like the old lady shooting out the window on the chair. The guy
Yeah.
being run over by his own tractor because the gremlins are driving it. Gremlins, in the bar. You got the flashing gremlin. You think like the Lost Boys, you got the montage sequence when I think that the Frog Brothers are teaching the other one. to,
You're,
like,
you're
make
asking me
vampire.
these questions like I'm just gonna know.
And this film is missing those kinds of moments. And it's still fine. I actually thought the dialogue was kind of clever and fun. I will say that. My other complaints, or at least my other kind of like issue, is
Nitpick.
that we talked about the villain. It's Morgana. She's not really in it that much. She has 1 or 2 scenes where she sends her minions out.
Minions were cool.
The minions were cool. The horse,
The horses, the skeleton horses.
those are really cool. She sends those guys out to do her battle for her, and she doesn't show up until the end.
She shows up twice.
Kind of an anticlimactic villain. Really good actress. Rebecca Ferguson played Morgana, and she's always really good. I feel like she tries to give 100% to everything she does. It just wasn't a whole lot for her to do in this movie, because for the first, I want to say 75% she's tied to a tree, or like in some underground
Thing.
cave. And then when she does emerge, she transforms into some kind of like dragon creature, and it's no longer Rebecca Ferguson. It's like a CGI monster that the kids fight with.
Yeah.
And the character is then, I don't want to say existent, but the character growth, there really is no character growth for her. I mean, she's kind of one note. She just wants to rule the world. And so that's probably my biggest nitpick, is that the villain wasn't big enough for us, I think, to get those standout moments with the heroes. So I think had we've been more invested with the villain throughout the film, I think some of the scenes towards the end with the confrontation would have been a little bit more goosebumps inducing.
I mean, I agree. I thought that the villain was just very basic. There wasn't much to her. There wasn't much excitement about her. She didn't necessarily look scary either. I would have wanted a little bit more of a creative way to express her, but I didn't think that it quite got there.
Yeah. I think compare her to villain in other films, I think of I believe his name was Malik in the second Thor movie, where he was very kind of one note. He just wanted to conquer the world. Marvel has had some villains that are like that, where they're very kind of like flat. You don't really get to know them too well. They're just there to destroy the universe. And those villains kind of tend to fall flat, and no one really remembers them. And I think this falls into that category.
I agree.
So that's it for me.
That's it for me.
So I really liked the film. Didn't love it. Like I said, if it had a few crescendoing moments that gave me goosebumps with the kids and the villains, I think I would have considered this maybe a cult classic, maybe garner an underground following a little bit. But as it is now, it's a fun family film that I believe a lot of people can enjoy. I just don't think you'll walk out of the film being absolutely wowed, but you'll have a good time.
I agree.
Or you won't have a good time.
I mean, I didn't say I didn't have a good time. I just wasn't impressed. I was like, okay, let's go.
All right.
I wasn't necessarily impressed.
All right, so we have different views on this. That's okay. I still love you.
I'm vicious when we're fighting.
Oh, we're not fighting.
I know, I'm
Stop it.
kidding.
Okay, that's it for us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We got a bunch of early screenings that we're going to be attending, so we'll have some reviews up for some early films, hopefully in the next coming weeks. We're seeing Lego Movie 2 today. Excited about that. So,
I can't wait for Lego Chris Pratt.
there's 2 of them in this one.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so excited for 2 Chris Pratt.
All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And as always, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and we will see you next time, guys.